He played the bongos, he cracked safes for fun. He ignored every academic rule in the book. Richard Feynman didn't look or act like a typical genius. But behind all the jokes and the eccentricities was one of the sharpest, most honest scientific minds of the 20th century. A mind that would change the world, not once, but several times over. Born in 1918, Feynman developed a philosophy that guided his entire life. Science, to him, wasn't about fancy titles, prestigious awards, or bowing to authority. It was about one simple, yet incredibly difficult thing: not fooling yourself. He believed that the easiest person to deceive is yourself, and that this self-deception was the greatest danger of all, both in science and in life. This wasn't just a clever saying. It was a code he lived by. In his 20s, during the height of World War II, Feynman was recruited into the top-secret Manhattan Project. He was just a young physicist, suddenly surrounded by legendary figures like Oppenheimer and Fermi, all racing to build the atomic bomb. Even in that environment, surrounded by sheer brilliance, he saw how easily things could go wrong. He realized that even the smartest people could convince themselves of things that weren't true, especially when under pressure. Systems could fail, and people could choose to hide uncomfortable truths. This early experience shaped his lifelong skepticism of bureaucracy and authority. Years later, Feynman would go on to revolutionize physics itself. His work on quantum electrodynamics, or QED, provided a breathtakingly precise explanation of how light and matter interact. The theory was so complex, the math so dense, that it was nearly impossible for anyone to understand. So, Feynman did something revolutionary. He created a new visual language, what we now call Feynman diagrams. These simple, intuitive drawings made the complex dance of subatomic particles understandable. They weren't just illustrations. They were powerful computational tools that changed how an entire generation of physicists thought and worked. It was like giving sight to the blind. For this groundbreaking work, he was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1965, but Feynman, being Feynman, never cared much for awards. He famously considered turning it down, annoyed by all the publicity and fuss. To him, the real reward wasn't a medal from a king. It was the joy of figuring things out, the pleasure of finding things out, as he called it. The discovery itself was the prize. But perhaps Feynman's most famous and courageous act came long before his Nobel win, in the twilight of his career. In 1986, the world watched in horror as the Space Shuttle Challenger exploded just seconds after liftoff. In the aftermath, a presidential commission was formed to investigate the disaster. Officials offered vague explanations, technical jargon, and reassuring but empty language. The bureaucracy was closing ranks, protecting itself. Then came Feynman. Appointed to the commission, he refused to be bogged down by reports and meetings. He did what he always did. He went looking for the truth himself. During a televised hearing, he performed a simple, dramatic experiment. He took a piece of a rubber O-ringer component from the shuttle's rocket boosters and clamped it. Then he dipped it into a glass of ice water, mimicking the cold temperatures on the morning of the launch. He pulled it out. The rubber, which was supposed to be resilient, had become stiff and brittle. It didn't spring back. In that one simple demonstration, the truth became undeniable for millions watching at home. The Challenger didn't explode because of some complex, unforeseeable mystery. It exploded because of a simple, known flaw. It exploded because clear warnings from engineers about the O-rings had been ignored by management, who were more concerned with public relations and launch schedules than with reality. Feynman cut through the noise and exposed the deadly gap between the truth and the story the organization wanted to tell. He later wrote in his report, in words that should be carved into the walls of every major institution, for a successful technology, reality must take precedence over public relations. For nature cannot be fooled. Richard Feynman wasn't just a physicist. He was a champion for intellectual honesty. He was a living reminder that intelligence without integrity is not only useless, but dangerous. He taught us that truth is often inconvenient, messy, and uncomfortable, and that powerful systems will always prefer comfortable lies over hard truths. He showed us that the most important scientific tool we have is the courage to question everything, especially ourselves. Because the most dangerous lie of all is the one we tell ourselves. This is Stories Off the Map, where the real stories behind history are more than the myths. Thank you for watching, and if you believe in the power of truth, make sure to subscribe for more stories that challenge the official narrative.